Hello and welcome back to Duca's Copy TV. Now, it's the Greek elections this Sunday, and for many it couldn't come soon enough, as previous attempts by the country to form a government have all but failed. It's a crucial time for the markets, and it's also given the chance for smaller parties in the country to run for office, thanks to hardline austerity measures, mostly directed by Germany. In the studio with me today is the managing partner of Barron's Financial Services, Eric Kohn. Eric, thanks very much for coming into the studio again. Let's start with these smaller parties in Greece. Now, the leader of Syriza, Alexis Tsipras, is one of the Greek anti-bailout parties. He's essentially said that Greece can still receive a bailout whilst not actually taking on any austerity measures. Is this realistic?
Well, what does he know that we don't know? I mean, you can only go what's in the public domain and what is logical, and it certainly isn't logical that the EU will allow them to receive a bailout and at the same time do what they want. I think the EU has made it very clear by putting in the Troika to supervise them, has made its position 100% clear. So you're either going for a Greek tragedy or austerity. The problem with a whole group of little parties will be, I doubt there will be a winner of the election. There will have to be a coalition put together, and there could be quite a bloody time in Greece while they're trying to do that. And my own personal view is that it would be better for all parties that, in the same way when you have cancer you have to cut out all the metastases, that Greece really needs to step out of the EU with a possibility of coming in at some time in the future to protect the euro.
Now, look, I mean, you mentioned the euro. Looking at the currencies, I mean, there's still some structural reform perhaps needed in the country. How do you think the markets are going to react from this election? I mean, obviously, they could react either way based on the result, but what do we think the overall reaction is going to be?
I don't think it will be a reaction on Greece on its own. I still take the view very strongly that to run a euro, you need a federal government. Australia, Canada, Switzerland, the USA, all have federal governments. There is a federal tax, and then each state or canton or province has their state tax, so you can adjust the economies. You've got a situation in the euro where you've got one or two strong countries, and you've got other countries that are in deep desperation. I think the Spanish situation has shown that giving a pile of money to Spain creates euphoria for about 2 hours, and then it goes the other way. And I've always been the belief that a European free trade area was what we needed. And if you're going to go for a federal Europe, then do the job properly. There's nothing worse than a half-done job. Not that I'm for a federal Europe.
Now, focusing on the euro, it's been under quite a bit of pressure for a while. A lot of the parties in Greece seem to have still this overriding feeling that there needs to be a climb down in austerity. Some of the bigger parties obviously have said this in light of the fact that smaller splinter groups like Syriza have started to rise up through the ranks, if you like. I mean, how are we looking at the euro now going forward after this election, with that in mind, with the fact that we know these parties want less austerity?
Well, I don't think it's a question of what they want. At the end of the day, they don't have the money, and it's what the EU decides. There isn't a question of any voluntary position of Greece. This has already been decided. The EU has decided. It's thrown money at Greece. You were in a non-negotiable position, unless you happen to be taking some drugs or smoking something. The situation is very clear, and it's laid down by the EU. So I don't know how they can conceive that, but I do think they're not in this world.
The Greek government have received up to, I think it's something like 240 billion euros since 2010. This is something that's as you mentioned earlier, with the rally earlier in the week with Spain, with the issue over in Spain, it's not enough for the markets anymore, is it? The confidence in the markets to say we're going to provide banks with a nice bailout package, that should get the markets fired up again. What we're now looking at, I suppose, is more of a political angle.
Well, let's just talk about how you restructure a company. And I've done quite a lot of restructuring in my time, and I just don't see how you can look at it the way you're looking at it and saying if you give money here and give money there and it'll all work in the end, unless there is a proper restructuring and strong foundations for the euro to continue. I think this uncertainty and the turmoil on the markets will continue.
Eric, thank you very much for coming into the studio.
It's a pleasure.
Once again.
Hopefully we'll have better news next time.
Hopefully, we'll wait and see. That's all we've got time for on Duca's Copy TV. We'll be back next week with further interviews and updates. But until then, have a great weekend. Goodbye.